Hello everyone, this is Jasmine, aka gladiatorinsweats, and I'm here with the daily collective reading for today, August 2nd, 2018. So happy Thursday to everyone. I just want to say welcome to all of the new subscribers and welcome back to all of the returning ones. As always, I'm just thankful and appreciative of all of the support. So I hope that you feel my love in return, and as always, I hope that everyone is feeling well, doing okay, and taking care of themselves. So I just want to jump into it. So I actually want to talk about the galactic signature for today, as well as a lot of the, not just the energies, but of the important markers, I guess, if you will, today, according to or along this galactic calendar, this 13-moon calendar. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and I guess as I discuss it, I'll just incorporate the reading with it, because I feel that it actually ties really well into the message. So first thing, it's the signature is the yellow resonant warrior, and intuitively I felt this hermit card energy of being intuitively spiritually led and guided, of being led by your internal compass, your own guidance, but it's this guidance that's not really it's not of the ego that's, talking to you out of fear or out of doubt, but it's you following your intuition, following your internal guidance. With this energy of this yellow warrior, there's this energy of grace, of being in a receptive energy, of allowing this divine compassion to come through to you, of you feeling more connected with your own original nature, your own self, and being receptive to any messages that are being sent your way through self-acceptance, through forgiveness of yourself. If you feel like you have done wrong, or you feel like you've made mistakes, feel like you've made mistakes that feel irreparable, or feel as if there's no way for you to make a better way for yourself, or it doesn't even have to be as deep as that. It could be even just the way that you feel that you may have acted with the people that you care about, and you feeling maybe you don't have any sort of way to rebuild any connections with the people that you care about, or maybe change the connections that you have currently. Maybe you're wanting to be in a state of release of some sort of relationships. So it could be either way, or it could be both. Ultimately, there's this energy, but I know in music, I believe it's called a fugue, and it's this like harmonic flow, this like question and answer that's like given here, and it's through this question and answer of yourself. And so and what I mean by this, because I really kind of want to help people understand that this is ultimately like the basis of what is, of life, that the soul ultimately, asks a question and embarks on this journey, separates from itself in order to experience, something outside of itself, so it's able to, so just imagine, or not just imagine, they have shows about it and stuff where people get stuck on an island or something, and there's no one to talk to, right? And the only way for you to create an experience outside of yourself, or for you to have this external stimulation, is to have another being or entity for you to interact with. And that's ultimately what happens when you think of this fragmentation from the one, from source, from God. Or even when people, they call it this fall from grace. They call it this fall from heaven. And I mean, I guess that's one perception of it if you want to look at it as a fall. But it's really, if coming down, if you will, from this higher aspect in order to embark on this journey to find the answer to this question. But this answer is ultimately found within the self. This exploration ultimately leads us back where we came from. It's really interesting how ultimately when we are on this journey of like self-awareness and of self-recognition, of wanting to really understand who we are really and truly and honestly, it's ultimately about us actually realizing and remembering the truth. It's about us actually uncovering what we've already known. It's like we've just forgotten, if you will. I also wrote down there's this Chiron and Aries energy that I feel, and I also felt that through the card, through the Six of Swords, this like this rod of, I believe, Hermes here, of this like rising of energy from within, connection going on from within, again, of this back and forth, this give and take. And so I feel we're asked to really dig deeper, ask deeper questions, so that our soul is able to respond and able to bring us closer to self, able to bring closer to unity, if you will, so that you're able to be more in flow with what's going on, and more in flow with the divine plan, which is ultimately your divine plan, ultimately the plan that you're kind of having to wake up to. And the joy is supposed to be the waking up to it. The joy is in the aha moments. The joy is in those moments where like things start to click, when you start to like look back and you start to see how the pieces fall into place in different places, and you're able to like almost even slap yourself to be like, oh my gosh, like I really stressed so much about this when really it was all about that. And you're able to really feel gratitude and how things pan out and how things flow. And I feel when you start to see how it has worked in the past, which is the way that I feel, if you work with the Akasha, work with Akashic records, I feel it's, for me, my personal path is not in necessarily rewriting, but in changing the emotion connected to that event or connected to that memory, changing the perception related to that event. Because I feel when my perception, because it happened, and it's not that I'm in a state of regret. For me, I'm not in any states of regret, I feel, or resistance to things that have happened. If anything, there may be things that I feel like, well, maybe I kind of wish I understood why those things happened. But sometimes I think some things aren't necessary to know. We don't have to know everything. And I think that's also part of having the trust in the divine, which ultimately is trust in ourselves, trusting in our higher self. But it's really trusting in ourselves and trusting in our current state to be able to choose, even if we feel like this path is not the state, in the current condition that we wish it was. We're not in the the path that we wish we were on, I guess, if that's how we may perceive it to be. Then we can just kind of return to that sort of compassion and state of gratitude for ourselves, to be, I understand that I'm feeling, maybe impatient, or feeling just very, very confused, which is very much valid when things are shifting and things are not as they seem. It's normal and it's valid, and that's even something that I think is important is for us to validate these feelings, validate these moments of doubt that may come up, to be like, no, I feel you, the same way that we would reconcile these emotions with our partner or with our children or just with anyone we care about. What we would say the same thing. How would you talk to someone that you really love? That's how we were relearning how to talk to ourselves with compassion, as opposed to with so much judgment, with so much needing to know what is right and wrong all the time or at all. Of things needing to be perfect, of needing to appear perfect, of needing to just having so much judgment and so much expectation on ourselves, which ultimately we end up projecting that expectation on other people. And when we're able to step back and take that moment of self-awareness, we're able to see how this mirrors in our life. We're able to see how the ways in which we feel about ourselves, the way we may feel that we're not, doing things right, or we're not perfect. We may, inflict these same sort of, projections on the people we care about, and feel some sort of need to make them feel some sort of way about themselves, when again, ultimately, it's all bringing it back to the self. Even as I was saying, self-acceptance through direct connection with, yourself. And it's an alignment that's going on here, where you're able to decode the little messages that are like hidden in between the lines, hidden in between the things that are going on. If you're able to kind of step back and just kind of watch how things are playing out in your life, or playing out just in the day, and seeing how, certain synchronicities or certain messages are kind of like, popping up or like flaring up in your mind when maybe someone says something, or a song comes on, or whatever. Your higher self has, plenty of ways to sort of sync connections, and it all kind of it all does depend upon you. It depends upon how you are best able to reach you. So I did want to talk about today with this galactic signature. It's also one of the 13 clear signs of the I'm never sure of how to pronounce his name correctly, so I guess I'll put that in the description box, because I really don't want to say it wrong. But there's actually a book that he has written, or that Jose, even his last name, I'm really terrible with names, and so I feel really bad about saying them. But there's this manuscript that he channeled, and I really do want to actually read a portion, or the portion that actually corresponds with today. And again, I feel like it heavily resonates with this message, as well as with the message that I feel that is being sent and is being felt by many people, or it's maybe being felt emotionally. And so as I've been talking about this release from this 12-month cycle, or just from this this time frequency that's actually very irregular and very I guess I don't even necessarily feel right about saying unnatural, because I even just see this whole manipulation play a part of the whole scheme, and trying not to even see that as like something that needs to be reprimanded, or something that needs to be revenge needs to be taken, or anything like that. But I digress. This section is called The Ecstasy of Deliverance. So I'll go ahead and read it, and I just want to point out the little things that I just wanted to mention. So, Because I repose on Telektonon, the mother of all prophecy, mine is the ecstasy of deliverance. With a mind of non-ego clasped to the heart of God, I've sent out my message of the Mayan apocalypse. By relinquishing the calendar of 12 and leaving the prison of mechanized time, God's mercy will come swiftly to you. 13 moons, 20 fingers and toes, 13 joints, 4 limbs, 5 senses do you already possess. God's knowing and power of movement are already in you, like a mother pregnant with child. Why tarry now? When a house is burning, scurrying for your possessions will only cost you your life. This house that is burning is Babylon, the 1260 way of life, which is now destroying your biosphere and poisoning everything about your life. Do not linger now fondling your machines. This is the day of judgment. If you can remember, leave this burning house and know that a better way has already been prepared for you. A holy victory march, my 7 years of prophecy, Telektonon, the sacred revelation of time. The cube of the law is awaiting its construction through the collective mind, spirit, and will of you, O children of the day of truth. Iblis, Satan, the evil one, is none other than your ego, clinging to the fatal lures of Babylon. God knows nonetheless exactly what is in your heart. Why not then become an apostle of the Holy Victory March? The ecstasy of deliverance is meant to be shared by all. And so, I just wanted to point out just some important key themes here, that as I've been mentioning, of us releasing this 1260 time frequency, through this divine intervention, through this God's will, through as I said, this through God's will, through God's plan, through our divine plan, through our divine order. And again, this mentioning of when a house burns, you don't cling to your material items to, and risk everything, risk your all for those material things. You leave and start anew, and because there is a better way that is already being prepared, there's something new that's already being manifest. And also feel this with this the 7 of cups. Even underneath the 7 of cups, we have the Lovers and the Hermit. So even as I mentioned earlier, that Hermit card energy that was that I really was feeling here, and even being felt here in the 6 of Swords. But there's this new structure that's built through our collective unconscious, but our collective consciousness, when we start to realize our power, when we're able to work with our unconscious and we're able to work with our soul, we're able to really align to where, our mind and body, our mind and spirit are, I'm confused. Regardless, I feel like you guys kind of understanding me. The terminology is not even necessarily all that important. It's really about just the alignment of ourselves within our bodies to where we're grounded and we're able to really maneuver with this higher understanding, this higher intelligence, really embodying our higher selves. And so yeah, even going back to the focus of these cards here, no longer being the servant of your ego drives and desires, no longer being the servant to those things. And there's this new mindset shift. It's like a shift in the balance, and you really taking control of this. I feel there's this heavy Mercury energy, or I just think of Hermes. I think of the Buddha energy. I think of 3, all of these 3s. I think of the Trinity. I just think of this alignment that happens. And not just that, but there's this activation from within, this activation of this higher understanding of our higher nature, what some may call the galactic human. And it's a very alchemical process. Ultimately, when I see this staff, it's this DNA process that's going on here from within. So if people are feeling physical symptoms and feeling just not all the way like attached to the 3D right now, it's very much because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of these like reconnecting of like if you just imagine like them brain being rewired, like just imagine it like that, and imagine the connections to these more like lower energies, or just these energies that just don't serve you anymore, these energies that just kept you more limited, releasing from those and attaching to the more resonant energies, and releasing from the deception of the material, of the external validation and comforts, possibly these relationships that are deserving, and going within to find this alignment with yourself. Also feel here, possibly with these the Lover's card and the Hermit, there could be this sexual energy, or maybe people start to feel this buildup of energy in the root chakra. But not just that, I feel like again there's this is this kundalini energy. I feel because there's this root chakra energy, but there's this crown chakra opening here. When I see like the lotus flowers here at the bottom of the Hermit card as well, just a lot of this symbology or symbolism that's here of this crown chakra energy, as well as the intuitive picking up on that. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I do feel that there's a lot of these Syrian energy waves that are coming in, and that's this energy that we're receiving, these waves that we're ultimately receiving, that's kind of upgrading us, that's kind of like shaking us out of this ego slumber, if you will, and bringing us closer to unity, kind of bringing us up out of one. I don't even want to kind of simplify it to saying one layer, but it's like pulling ourselves out of one of the dreams within the dreams. If you know anything about, I mean, I think everyone's seen Inception, so if not, that might be a movie to watch or rewatch. So yeah, I'm gonna just end it there because I think this has gone a little bit long. So thank you so much for supporting, watching. I hope that this resonates and brings some sort of clarity if anything's been just been going on and shifting. But I ultimately am starting to learn, or for me, wanting to even shift my own perception from feeling things are very static and not seeing things so much as this is how it is all the time, or this is how it's always going to be. Really even trying to include that in the presentation of my energy readings, because I really don't want anyone to get confused with any sort of assumption or implying that things are like static, or that this is some sort of fortune telling or anything like that. So yeah, I for whatever reason I just felt like I need to say that. So yeah, otherwise, as always, check the description box below for extra info for where to find me, where to go for any personal readings and services, things of that nature. I am working on updating the site and maybe bringing in some new content, some new material. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I think that's it. So it's actually pretty early in the morning for me. So I guess good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever time you're checking this out, to you all. As always, I send my love and I wish you all many blessings. So until next time.